This arrangement would have worked well enough if it had not been for the disputes between Snowball and Napoleon. These two disagreed at every point where disagreement was possible. If one of them suggested sowing a bigger acreage with barley, the, the other was certain to demand a bigger acreage of oats. And if one of them said that such and such a fight was just right of for cabbages, the other would declare that it was useless for anything except roots. Each had his own following, and there were some violent debates. At the meetings, Snowball often won over the majority by his brilliant speeches, but Napoleon was very at cavalry support for himself in between times. He was especially successful with the sheep. Of late the sheep had taken to bearing 4 legs good, 2 legs bad, both in and out of season, and they often interrupt the meeting with this. It was noticed that they were especially able to break into 4 legs good, 2 legs bad at a crucial moment in the Snowball's speeches. Snowball had made a close study of some bad numbers of the farmer and stock breeder, which he had found in the farmhouse, and was full of plans for innovations and improvements. He talked learnedly about field drains, silage, and basic slag, and had worked out a complicated scheme for all the animals to drop their trunk directly in fields at a different spot every day to save the labor of Carthage. Napoleon produced no assumption of his own, but said quietly that snowballs would come to nothing, and seemed to be biding his time. But of all their converses, none was so fitted as the one that took place over the windmill. In the long pasture not far from the farm buildings, there was a small knoll, which was the highest point on the farm. After surveying the ground, Snowball declared that this was just the place for a windmill, which could be made to operate at dynamo and supply the farm with electrical power. This would light the stalls and warm them in winter, and would also run a circular soap, a chaff cutter, a manual slicer, and an electric milking machine. The animals had never heard of anything of this kind before, for the farm was an old-fashioned one and had only the most primitive machinery, and they listened in astonishment while Snowball conjured up pictures of fantastic machines, which would do their work for them while they grazed at their ease in the fields or improve their minds with reading and conversation. Within a few weeks, Snowball's plans for the windmill were fully worked out. The mechanical details came mostly from 3 books which had belonged to Mr. Jones, 1,000 useful things to do about the house, every man his own bricklayer, and electricity for beginners. Snowball used as his study a shed which had once been used for incubators and had a smooth wooden floor suitable for driving on. He was closed there 4 hours at a time, with his books held open by a stone and with a piece of chalk right between the knuckles of his shoulder. He would move rapidly to and fro, throwing in line after line and uttering little whimpers of excitement. Gradually, the plants grew into a complicated mass of cranks, cog wheels, covering more than half the floor, which the other animals found completely unintelligible, but very impressive. All of them came to look at Snowball's drawings at least once a day. Even the hens and ducks came and were at pains not to tread on the chalk marks. Only Napoleon held aloof. He had declared himself against the windmill from the start. One day, however, he arrived unexpectedly to examine the plant. He walked heavily around the shed, looked closely at every detail of the plants, and snuffed at them once or twice, and stood for a little while contemplating them out of the corner of his eyes. Then suddenly he lifted his leg, grenade over the plants, and walked out without uttering a word. The whole farm was a pipe divided on the subject of the windmill. Snowball did not deny that to build it would be a difficult business. Stone would have to be carried and well put up into walls. Then the sails would have to be made, and after that there would be need for diamonds and keep. How these were to be procured Snowball did not say, but he meant that it could be done in a year, and thereafter he declared so much labor would be saved that the animals would only need to work 3 days a week. Napoleon, on the other hand, argued that the great need of the moment was to increase food production, and that if they wasted time of day on the windmill, they would all starve to death. The animals formed themselves into two factions under the slogan, both for Snowball and the 3-day week, and both for Napoleon and the full manger. Benjamin was the only animal who did not side with either faction. He refused to believe either that food would become more painful, or that the windmill would save the world. Windmill or windmill, he said, life will go on as it had always gone on. That is painless.